being said, I wish there was a drum roll type of thing, but you know what, we have to give them what they came for. And it's been a while, but it's going to finally happen. Fingers crossed. So next week is the biggest event on earth. Floyd Money Mayweather versus the notorious Conor McGregor. There was a lot of activity these past weeks. What do you want to talk about? Ticket prices kind of dropping, them going to 8-ounce gloves, the Paulie Malignaggi drama. What's your feeling? Do you think he got knocked down? Do you think Conor got the best of him?
Let's start with the Paulie Malignaggi. I mean, to be honest, all that video looked like Paulie was there to be his punching bag. I mean, it didn't even look like he was attacking. I don't really know what the game plan was for all of that. And granted, I mean, yeah, he knocked him down, but, I mean, they're going to glorify a punching bag, like, training partner. It didn't look like it was a real competitive training video. And then, I mean, the whole drama afterwards, all that nonsense, I mean, that's just trying to build around the hype, publicity, and, of course, Paulie keeping his name in the loop of everything, trying to create an emotional jabs at Conor to eventually maybe get Conor to try to want to fight him. But, I mean, what is he going to do, go from Floyd Mayweather to fighting Paulie Malignaggi? Honestly, he's got other things to take care of.
What is it?
Moving to the 8-ounce gloves.
Yes.
I mean, Floyd always is fighting in 8-ounce gloves. So I mean, it's nothing out of this realm in terms of for him specifically. I think it does kind of give, not necessarily an edge. I'm not going to use that term, but I guess it would benefit Conor's case in his power to have a little bit smaller of gloves. But, I mean, I still don't think that he's going to be able to land flush enough to really do something that's going to, end the fight or do any serious damage. So it's good. It's a good thing that they're going to the 8-ounce gloves. It makes for a more exciting fight, I would say.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't really follow boxing that much. I don't really know the specifics of the difference between 8-ounce gloves versus 10-ounce gloves. I know in the UFC fighters use 4-ounce gloves, but from reading these articles, they basically say, hey, the lower the ounce of gloves makes it more susceptible to hurt someone and to knock them out. So I'm not sure if that's Floyd's way of saying, look, for the people that think I'm just going to go up there and maybe play with them, or you think I'm such a defensive boxer that I'm not going to go on the offense and really put the mitts on this guy, that is not true. I'm going in there to, really knock him out. And obviously Conor said he doesn't care what type of gloves they use, and he's already predicted within the first 4. Actually, he said that with 10-ounce gloves. Conor's predicted within the first 2 rounds, but obviously that's what he says. But it is something where, we're talking about the ticket price. I think they started at $3,000 last time I heard in the secondary market. I checked the website now. Now you can get some tickets for $1,500, and, it's dropping. So I'm not sure if this is more of like a media thing, but obviously it's a serious thing because it has been approved. Before it was speculation when I put this down, but now they're fighting in 8-ounce gloves,
Yeah, I mean, between the ticket prices and, I mean, granted, the pay-per-view is going to sell regardless. People are going to get together and purchase it, throw down on it. But those ticket prices, I think it's a little bit of a mixture of both, the media glorifying different drops in prices. Of course, it being such a drastic drop. But that happens all the time, too. I mean, prices drop for all sporting events when it gets a little bit closer to the date, especially within the week. People can't go. They try to get rid of their tickets. People, who got them for cheaper and still selling them for, it's all a game with that. But not for nothing, I know the GGG and Canelo fight already sold out. So I guess in comparison to that, granted the prices are a fraction. You do notice a couple things. You might want to drop your prices and try to put some butts in those seats.
Exactly. It's definitely a head-scratcher there. I'm not sure really what to think about the whole Paulie drama. At first I was like, from a business perspective-wise, don't these guys sign NDAs for everyone out there, that means like non-disclosure agreements and all of there's kind of like that secret code. What happens in practice stays in practice. What happens in Vegas when I do it in Vegas stays in Vegas. Normally there's actual contractual obligations where it's like, look, you don't say, if you got the best of Connor, you keep your mouth shut. You got the best of Flloyd, you shut your mouth about that. But I guess Paulie was saying because they put out that photo that showed him, on his ass and Connor kind of like standing over him like he hit him with a knockdown, that kind of negated any type of NDA he signed. So he's like, I want the truth. You can't handle the truth, but he wants the truth. And now he's really taking him up on his offer. He like blew the NDA out of the water. He's talking about everything. Little girl says he whimpers when you hit him. Like, I'm not sure if that's that's adding to the publicity or people actually starting to believe. Like, some people, I think Paulie's an honest guy. I'm like, huh? Hey, the guy who didn't, follow a contract, the honest guy? Like, I don't know.
Some pretty incredible quotes. He said that Connor had a portion of his practice where he practiced walking into the ring.
Hey, that's marketability, man. Mr. Marketable. There's another Mr. Marketable. You're marketable, I'm remarkable. That's it, man. I love that line. But that's funny, man. But yeah, I guess it's next week, so we'll definitely have a huge show on that next week talking about, the outcome of the fight and where they go from there. Outside of that, I'm not sure if you watched the MMA Hour a little bit, but they had some people on. There's some interviews which kind of pulled on my emotional heartstrings, man. They had an interview there with Pat Barry and one, I don't know what his name is, but he's called Uncle Creepy, and he's an MMA fighter.
Oh, man.
Hasn't been back around. Like, pretty much these guys have brain messed up. And there's an article that came out for Football about a lot of fighters and athletes suffering for what they call CTE, which is, I just have a photo, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. I don't know, but it's a degenerative disease of the brain found in people with a history of repetitive brain trauma, which is often athletes. And a lot of the symptoms is memory loss, confusion, impaired judgment, impulse control, aggression, suicide, anxiety, and all that stuff. So I feel bad because I'm listening to these guys. They're taking all these pain pills. They're going to these special doctors. They're saying there's something not right with their brains, and it's, ruining their relationship with their family and their mental health. And you see some of these fighters, Rashad Evans and everybody. How do you feel about, the effects of maybe CTE coming to the MMA world?
I thought it'd only be really a matter of time. You think about it in relation to football. It's still something that's really new. It's only been a few years, a handful of years that we've really discovered this disease, and it's serious, and there's not really much that you can do in terms of anything with like a solution besides what regulating a knockdown rule, but then that negates the ground game. You can't relate it to boxing in a sense, and it's difficult. You can't put helmets on the fighters. It's right. A catch-22. This is the sport that we love, the gladiator sport, but it's gonna start happening where it's already started happening, where fighters are retiring after a handful of fights. Some guys are completely ignoring an opportunity at all, at a UFC opportunity, and cutting their career short just because of brain disease and things that they're learning about from multiple concussions. And it's difficult to take a step back as a fan and not notice it and not think about, okay, if you're a fan of these fighters along with the sport, what can do to prevent this? But the only thing really I can think of is after a certain amount of knockout losses, they won't license a fighter anymore, things like that, to prevent this from happening. But that can only go so far, because you cannot get knocked out and still take brain trauma. I mean, look at some of these wars that we've watched. You don't think that they endured concussions just from one round of these crazy, brutal brawls, and then they win by a flash knockdown or a submission? So it's hard. It's hard to really generalize where you could pinpoint how to come up with a solution. And it kind of stinks, because it's like, man, when you think about it, it's like the question's going to start happening. You're going to let your kids do MMA, you're going to let your kids do boxing and stuff like that. But it's also, that's part of the gladiator sports. And
sure.
These guys sign up for it, and they know what they're signing up for. And some of them realize it after the fact. Some of them keep on going, and you ask them, they'll do it all over again.
Right, I completely agree. 100% agree with what you said. It's kind of funny. Like, on one end, you have like the old school warriors that did it because they're like athletic endeavors after maybe their college days, kind of like a Chuck Liddell. He was done wrestling, but wasn't that good enough to go the Olympic route. Had a little bit of a karate background, so he still want to continue the mixed martial arts even when it wasn't that popular, because he just want to keep up his athletic ability and do something fun. And he was a born fighter, and people like Vitor that were like that too, and still want to continue. And then you have people growing, coming up now, which are real timid to fight, and they want to get their money and get out. But it is something that you know what you signed up for. So it is very, very tough. Completely agree with that. It's just really tough to see the CTE, and although we're talking about the brain concussions and things like that, and who knows what happens to them during sparring and in practice. And outside of that, that's just something to do with the brain. There's still the rest of your body that still gets mangled and messed up, and obviously, unless it's an in-ring injury or in-octagon injury, you have to deal with the health insurance all on your own, which would be nasty in that regards as well. And right, as you said, there's really no way to prevent it. The only way to prevent it would be to win and win easily and not do any damage, or kind of pull a low-key Tyron Woodley versus Damian Maia or versus Stephen Thompson, where you really fight timid and tactical, but you get the W and no one can say anything because you did win. Or, you pull like a Bisping and don't really defend in years or something like that.